Hi guys, it's Vanessa. Thank you for returning to my channel, or if you're new here, hi, how are you? My name is Vanessa and I love to talk about books. Today I'm going to be doing a tag video, which is honestly content that I don't usually make, but this one genuinely sounded really good, so I'm going to do it. I was tagged by Armin and I will leave her channel in the description. Honestly, it is criminal that this girl only has 67 subscribers. Her video quality is honestly goals. She's so nice and her videos are genuinely so interesting to watch. So I would highly recommend going over and actually looking at her channel and watching some of her videos at the end of this one. So thank you for tagging me in this. There is 10 questions and they are mostly book related. Some of them I might actually have to think about before I actually tell you the answer, but here we go. Question 1 is, how many books do you currently own? I would estimate that I have about 250 physical books, maybe about 60 on my Kindle as well. I'm trying to actually have a good clear out of books, and if you watch Armin's video, she talks about how she recently got rid of so many of her books but then regretted getting rid of them because she went through like, not a minimalist stage, but she thought that getting rid of them would bring her more happiness. And honestly, I can relate so bad. Over the years, I've gone through peaks and troughs of deciding I want more books because books bring me happiness, and also getting rid of things brings me happiness, so I'm just going to get rid of loads of books. And I've got rid of so many books that I've actually ended up repurchasing later on, which is really annoying. I don't like to have things. Having this many books for me is honestly, it's so out of character for me because I don't like to own things in bulk. Like my clothes are all in 2 little boxes, you know, the IKEA little boxes. They all fit in there with the exception of maybe got like 10 things hung up in the wardrobe and everything else belongs to Alex. I just don't like having stuff, and buying new things and acquiring new things doesn't bring me happiness. Getting rid of things and seeing like empty space brings me happiness, which I know is really weird, but I have learned that I just shouldn't get rid of books, because even if I've read them, that doesn't mean to say that I'm not going to go back and reread it in the future. Like sometimes I've got the first book in a series, read it, enjoyed it, and then given that away, and then later on when the second book has come out, I've realised I want to repurchase the first one because I can't remember what happened in it, so what's the point of reading the second one and continuing on with the series? So yes, the book hoard for me like this is very out of character, but I've done it. Question 2. How many books are you currently reading? I am currently not actually reading anything right now because I finished Crescent City House of Earth and Blood last night, and it blew my mind. It totally blew my expectation of what a book could be. And I'm not a Sarah J Maas fan, so I'm going to be making a video about that for my next video if you're interested to hear my thoughts on that. But I feel like no book can compare to reading that at all, so I'm a bit put off reading. I think it's put me in a bit of a slump because I know that whatever I pick up is not going to be as good as what I've just read. So I am thinking about deviating from my planned TBR just so I can pick up something easy and fluff and just get that out the way so that I'm back in sort of like normal reading expectations, if that makes sense. Question 3. Choose a couple of books you read but didn't enjoy. Just going on to Goodreads. But I think if you've been watching this channel for some time, you'll know exactly what's going to be coming. A book that I can think of off the top of my head is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J Maas. I genuinely thought that was trash. Even though I've just said I've totally loved her new book, this one I really didn't like. I really had a big problem with it. I also really didn't like The Lemon Grove, which was a popular adult contemporary that was doing the rounds on Booktube a couple of years ago. And if you want to hear more of my thoughts and justifications for why I didn't like them, I do have a whole video about books that I've read and didn't enjoy. I've just realised in that video I totally forgot to mention Caraval, so we're going to talk about it here instead. So Caraval by Stephanie Garber, I read when it initially came out, and I didn't really have high expectations because it was described as sort of like The Night Circus, and that is a book that I also didn't enjoy. I didn't have expectations going into it, but it was so much worse than what I could ever have imagined. I thought it was very crazy, immature. I didn't like the characters at all. I didn't like the reveal or the setting or the romance or anything about it really. So before this turns into a rant video, we're just gonna move straight on. Question 4, a cover buy. Okay, a lot of my books are actually cover buys, if I'm honest. I do get attracted initially to a good cover, but because I do most of my shopping in secondhand bookshops, I can't spend hours literally picking up every single book and looking for a book to read. So my eyes just sort of go to the ones that look good, and then I'm interested in them and I'll pick them up and I'll read the blurb on them. But you know, this wouldn't be a question if it wasn't Booktube, because I think all Booktubers to some extent are a bit guilty of cover buys. So let's have a look. Okay, for everything that I've just said, it's genuinely took me like 10 minutes to actually look through my books and think about which ones were cover buys, because not a lot of them actually were pure cover buys. There's been something else to them that's made me pick them up. Like, I've liked the cover, but I've also read stuff of the author previously, or I've liked the cover but heard good things about it on Booktube. So I actually only narrowed this down to 2 pure cover buy choices. The first was The Last by Hannah Jameson, and I bought this because this whole cover gave me Grand Budapest Hotel vibes, which is one of my favourite films of all time. There's a little bit more of a action shot for you. However, I did end up reading this and was very disappointed and didn't really like it, so I am actually getting rid of this anyway. I didn't realise I still had it on my shelves. And the other one isn't a book that I've seen physically and bought physically. I saw a picture of it, thought, oh my god, that cover is amazing. Added it to my Amazon wish list, and my best friend Rebecca actually bought it for me. But yeah, it still classes as a cover buy, I think. And that is The Starless Sea. This cover is absolutely stunning, okay? And I know I just said previously that I didn't like The Night Circus, and that was really true. And when I finished reading The Night Circus, I said that I would never read anything by this author again, because I just didn't like maybe her writing style or topics of other themes of her books. But honestly, when I saw this cover, I just thought, I have to have that. That is absolutely stunning, and I have no regrets. I love owning this. This is only the second book, other than House of Earth and Blood, which I have on my shelves this way because I love to look at it, because it's a work of art. Although if there is books where I know there's variations in the covers between the UK edition and the US edition, I will hold out for the edition that I like the most, which is usually the US edition. I won't buy it until I can get it in the cover that I want. So one example of this was The Martian. I don't know how Rebecca found this, because this is a US edition. I genuinely have no idea, because I looked for this in this cover and just couldn't find it, because the UK edition has Matt Damon's face on it, and I just thought this was so cool. So I wanted to read it, but I just refused to buy it until I got it in the cover I want. And it's the same with Nevernight. So if anybody knows of any websites that I can use to buy US editions, or if Rebecca, if you just let me know when you bought this so I can buy the US edition of Nevernight, that would be really great. Question 5 is a book you own but hate the cover of. I genuinely looked for so long for this, and I was totally ready to give up until this caught my eye. It's The Magician Guild. I didn't even know I had this book. I don't know where it came from. It wasn't on my shelves. It was just sort of lying on the floor somewhere. So I have no idea where this has come. Oh, it's come from Barter Books, so I've definitely bought it. I just didn't remember having it. But I do think that this cover needs a little bit of work. It's a little bit plain. For a book about magicians being a fantasy, I would just expect something a little bit more exciting on the cover. It's not bad, it's not that I hate it. It's just the one that I like the least on my shelves, and the rest of them I think are really nice. So maybe that one. Question 6, a book that you haven't read in years. I've read these a lot. I've had this book since 2000, okay? And I read this consistently every year. Every time a new Harry Potter book came out, I would reread the entire series in anticipation for that book coming out. However, since the final film came out, I just felt like I could put that chapter of my life to bed. I've actually never read any of these spin-offs or watched any of the spin-off movies, because for me, Harry Potter started with this book and ended with the last Harry Potter book. I'm not interested in the rest of the universe, because this book series with Harry, Hermione and Ron is so special that nothing could just compete with it in my head. Everything else to me was just going to be complete trash. And I know that's really childish and really petty, but that's just genuinely my thoughts on the Harry Potter series. I do want to reread this series, and I want to reread it in the illustrated format books. I do have the first illustrated edition. I got it for Christmas one year, and in the process of moving house, I have somehow misplaced it. But I do plan on rebuying it and buying the entire series, just so I can read the series again with a little bit of a fresh take on it. It must be about, well, when did the last book come out? But this was published in 2007, it's a first edition. So once this actually ended, oh my god, 2007 is 13 years ago. I'm older. I've not read anything of the Harry Potter series in 13 years. Oh my god, okay, I didn't realise it was that long. I thought it would have been about 6 years, but no, 13 years is a... These haven't been read in 13 years. I'm gonna correct that soon, I swear. So yeah, apparently they are probably the books that I own, but haven't read the longest, even though they are the books that I've owned the longest. Question 7, a book you always recommend. Well, now it's always going to be this absolute beauty of a book, because I've never read a book as good or as fun as this. This kept me up for nights reading this. I genuinely cried when I finished this, because I thought that I would never read a book as good as this again. And I know that's sad, but that's the truth. So I think this might be my new favourite book at the moment, so this is probably one that I would recommend. However, my usual go-to recommendation is Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. And that is because I think readers of all ages can appreciate this. You know, people that like middle grade or YA or even adults. I read this when I was 24 and I absolutely loved it. And I really, really do still love this series. Even though I read this as an adult, it made me feel really nostalgic, because there's something about this series that harks back to the Harry Potter series when I read them for the first time. It's a book about magic and fantasy, Greek mythology, but more importantly, that friendship bond of children. I've rated every book that I've read in this series 5 out of 5 stars, and it was so good. Like, I would even recommend this to my grandma. I might go and drop this off for her. She might need some light reading, because, you know, she's there's a bit of a pandemic going on and she can't get the shops. She also read the Harry Potter books as they were coming out, and she really loved them, bless her. Question 8, all-time favourite book series. Now, Armin said for this question as well that obviously this was going to be the Harry Potter series, and for a lot of people it would be the Harry Potter series. For me, I would agree that it is probably my all-time favourite book series. However, I'm wanting to be different. I want to challenge myself to think of something else. Obviously, Harry Potter is a series that got me into books. It's always going to be a special series to me and to most people my age. There was something so special about growing up with the series, and as the movies were coming out, I was the age of Harry in that movie at the time, which was really, really cool to me, because it felt like I was growing up with that. So for that reason, I'm very sentimental about Harry Potter, but I'm going to try and pick a series that is my favourite that's not for sentimental reasons. Other than Percy Jackson, it would have to be the Three Dark Crowns series by Kendall Blake. I really, really enjoyed this book series. There's something so fun and unique and exciting about it, and I do plan on rereading this, which for me is very rare to reread a book. This book is about 3 sisters who are all princesses, and their mother died in childbirth, which is usual for their world, a queen will always give birth to 3 daughters, and at that point her reign ends. She either dies or disappears off the island, and the 3 princesses are brought up with different families based upon their own magical ability, and on their 16th birthday one of the sisters has to be successful in killing the other 2 so that she can become queen and start the ball rolling all over again. However, with the 3 sisters we have in this generation, all 3 of them are as equally as powerful as each other. They are all the most powerful queens that they've seen in a long time, and killing off each other is harder than it seems. There is 4 books in this series. I haven't read the 4th book yet because I'm so scared to end this series. Or is there 5 books? No, there's 4, but I always get confused because the 4th book is called 5 Dark Fates, which confused me a little bit. Yeah, probably the series that I've found the most fun. Question 9, where do you read? I am so lazy. I will always read in bed. If I'm going to sit down and think, right, I'm going to read some books, go to bed, just because it's the most comfiest place. This is my reading room, but I haven't been able to get a reading chair that I really like. I'm quite particular about chairs, but once I get my reading chair, I will predominantly be in that chair in my reading room over there in the corner. But for now, it has always been in bed. I can't read when other people are about or when something else is going on. Like, I know a lot of people will sit down on the sofa while their family is watching TV and they sit and read, but I can't do that. There has to be absolutely 0 noise, 0 people. I need to be in my headspace. Question 10, what are the last 2 books you gave a 5-star rating and why? The last 2 books that got a 5-star rating from me, like I've just said before, was House of Blood and Earth by Sarah J. Maas. My next video is going to be talking about what I liked about this book, but just a little bit of a quick summary. This book, the setting was so unique. There's a lot of magic in it, there's a lot of fantasy in it, and there's all different layers of society. It's not just sort of like, here's a world and everything works the same. Everything is totally different in this. It feels like a fleshed out real world. The characters are really good. It had me crying, laughing, shocked. I couldn't put it down. I lost so many hours of sleep reading this, and sleeping is my hobby. So to give up that for this book was very surprising to me. And before that would be Heartstopper Volume 2, but Heartstopper Volume 1 came before that, and I gave that a 5-star rating too. 5-star ratings for me are actually really hard to get. The book has to be absolutely perfect for me to give it a 5-star rating. But this one I really enjoyed. I thought it was a very different take on a comic series. It was such a heartwarming book to read. The main characters are school kids. Charlie is the only out and gay character in his school, and he meets Nick, who he sits next to in tutor group, and Nick has never had any attraction to men before. He, as far as he was aware, had this attraction to girls. However, now he has an attraction to Charlie, and he's wondering if he might be bisexual. They have the most beautiful friendship that predates any romantic inclination between them. I would read this over and over and over again if I just wanted some instant happiness, because that's what it brought me. It just felt like a little bubble of love and happiness. So I would really recommend reading this as well, although I do have a video talking a bit more about why I like this. So those are the 10 questions. I hoped you found out a little bit more about my reading habits maybe. I thought it was really fun to do, and it's really good to reflect on some of my reading as well. I'm going to tag 3 people in it. I'm going to tag my best friend Rebecca from Rebecca Reads. I'm also going to tag Katie, whose videos I'm really enjoying at the moment, and her channel is called Brightness Katie Reads. And Sasha from Well Read and Half Dead, who's a channel that I've also come across recently. We've connected on Twitter, and she engages a lot with my content, which I really do appreciate. So I'd love to see her do it as well. So that is it for me today. I'm going to go and choose my next read, and I'm very excited by that. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys!